Captain Minho stood in the armory of the Remembrance, checking his weapons one last time. Around him, 20 elite soldiers prepared for the rescue mission. They wore black combat suits equipped with personal quantum displacement devices, small portable versions of the technology that let the ships jump through space. "Remember," Minho told his team, "we jump directly into the detention facility, grab Ambassador Subin, and jump out. Total operation time 5 minutes. Any longer and Council reinforcements will trap us." Young Private Jinwoo adjusted his rifle nervously. This was his first real combat mission. He had trained for years, but training was different from fighting. "What if something goes wrong?" he asked. Minho looked at him steadily. "Then we adapt. That's what humans do best." The strike team boarded a small assault ship and launched from the Remembrance. They flew toward Kepler 9, staying hidden with their adaptive camouflage. Council ships passed nearby without detecting them. 30 seconds to jump point, the pilot announced. Minho activated his quantum displacement device. The world blurred around him. Reality twisted. Then suddenly he stood in a white corridor inside the detention facility. His team materialized around him, appearing out of nowhere. Alarms immediately began screaming. Council guards rushed toward them, but they were too slow. Minho's soldiers moved with perfect coordination. Stun weapons fired. Guards dropped unconscious. The team advanced rapidly through the corridors. They found Subin in a cell in the high-security section. Minho placed a small charge on the force field generator. It exploded with a soft pop, and the field collapsed. "Nice timing," Subin said, stepping out of the cell. "We need to move now," Minho replied. Council reinforcements poured into the detention block. Heavy combat drones rolled around corners, their weapons charging. Jinwoo fired his rifle, but the bullets bounced off their armor. "Use the nanites," Minho ordered. Jinwoo switched to his secondary weapon and fired. The nanite capsules broke open against the drones. Billions of microscopic machines swarmed over the metal surfaces. Within seconds, the drones collapsed into piles of dust and disconnected parts. "That's incredible," Subin breathed. They fought their way to the extraction point, but more Council forces blocked their path. Too many to fight through. Minho made a quick decision. "Everyone link hands. Emergency group jump now." The team grabbed each other. Minho activated his device at maximum power. The quantum displacement field expanded to cover all of them. Reality twisted violently. Then they stood on their assault ship, which had positioned itself in orbit. "Go, go, go!" Minho shouted to the pilot. The ship jumped away into hyperspace just as Council warships arrived at Kepler 9. Back on the Remembrance, Commander Taeyang listened to Subin's report about her capture and interrogation. "Counselor Vexrath knows we survived," Subin explained. "He's organizing a systematic hunt. They'll search every system in the outer territories until they find our colonies." Admiral Kyungmin, commander of the Second Fleet, slammed her prosthetic fist on the table. "Then we don't give them time to hunt. We strike at their weapons facility like we planned. We hit them hard enough that they have to focus on defense instead of offense." Dr. Hana objected again. "If we attack, thousands will die on both sides. Maybe millions. Is revenge worth that cost?" "This isn't revenge," Taeyang said quietly. "This is survival. If we don't destroy their ability to commit genocide, they'll use it on us again, and on any other species that defies them." The vote was quick. The assault would proceed. For the next 3 days, the human fleet prepared for war. Engineer Daeho and Dr. Su-young worked around the clock, installing the Virani shield technology on every ship. The shields wouldn't stop everything, but they would give the fleet a fighting chance. Soldiers trained in simulated combat. Pilots practiced attack runs. Medical teams prepared for casualties. Young Jinwoo wrote a message to his family in Colony 6 just in case he didn't return. Admiral Kyungmin addressed her fleet from the bridge of her flagship, Seoul's Defiance. 3,000 years ago, the Council decided we had no right to exist. They were wrong. Today we prove it. Today we show them that humanity is not so easily erased. The fleet assembled in formation, 50 warships, 200 fighters, thousands of brave souls ready to risk everything. Commander Taeyang gave the order. "All ships activate quantum displacement drives. Target Shipyard Omega-7. Jump in 3, 2, 1. Execute!" Space twisted. The fleet vanished and reappeared in orbit around Omega-7. The Council forces at the shipyard panicked. Their sensors detected the human fleet only after it had already arrived. No warning, No time to prepare. The humans had achieved complete surprise. All ships engage, Kyungmin ordered. The battle began with devastating fury. Human ships unleashed their nanite missiles. 3 Council capital ships dissolved into clouds of molecular debris within minutes. Council fighters scrambled to launch, but human pilots, with their superior reflexes, shot them down before they could form up. The psionic dampeners activated across the battlefield. Council commanders suddenly couldn't communicate with their ships telepathically. Their coordinated defense collapsed into chaos. Individual ships fought alone, confused and isolated. "They're falling apart," Minho observed from his tactical station. "The dampeners are working even better than we hoped." But the Council had numbers. More ships arrived from nearby systems. Dozens of them. Then hundreds. The human fleet was outnumbered 10-1. "Boarding teams, launch," Kyungmin commanded. Captain Minho led the assault teams toward Omega-7 itself. Assault pods shot through space, dodging defensive fire. They crashed through the shipyard's hull and deployed soldiers inside. Minho's team fought through corridors filled with enemy guards. But what they found in the shipyard's core made them stop in horror. It wasn't just a weapons facility. It was an experimental research center. Behind reinforced glass walls, they saw prison cells. Aliens from dozens of species were locked inside. Some were missing limbs. Others had strange devices attached to their heads. All of them looked broken and terrified. "They're test subjects," Jinwoo said, his voice shaking. "The Council is experimenting on living beings." Subin accessed a nearby computer terminal and downloaded the research files. "These are species the Council considers inferior. They're testing weapons and genetic modifications on prisoners. This is worse than genocide. This is torture." Minho felt cold rage fill him. "Free them all. Every single prisoner, then plant the charges." While his team released the prisoners and placed antimatter explosives throughout the facility, the space battle reached its peak. Admiral Kyungmin's Soul's Defiance fought at the center of the human formation, her weapons firing constantly. "Admiral, Council reinforcements approaching," her tactical officer reported. 2 dreadnoughts. "They'll be in weapons range in 3 minutes." Kyungmin checked her displays. The human fleet was winning, but they needed more time to evacuate the boarding teams from Omega-7. If those dreadnoughts arrived, they could trap the entire assault force. She made her decision instantly. "All ships except Soul's Defiance begin retreat procedures. Get our boarding teams and get out of here." "Admiral?" her first officer asked with confusion. "That's an order," Kyungmin said firmly. She opened a channel to the rest of the fleet. "Commander Taeyang, this is Admiral Kyungmin. I'm going to buy you time." "Get everyone out safely, Kyungmin, no." Taeyang's voice came back. "We can all retreat together." "There's no time," she replied calmly. "Someone needs to hold the line. I choose to hold it. Tell my daughter I love her. Tell her I died so that humans could have a future." She cut the communication before Taeyang could argue. "Helmsman, ramming speed. Target, the lead dreadnought. Engineering. Prepare to overload the reactor on my command." Her crew looked at her with tears in their eyes, but none of them disobeyed. They were willing to follow their admiral to the end. Soul's Defiance accelerated toward the approaching dreadnoughts. Council ships fired everything they had at the charging warship. Its shields collapsed. Its armor broke apart, but Kyungmin kept pushing forward. "All crew evacuation pods launching in 10 seconds, she announced. "It's been an honor serving with you." The crew evacuated, pods shooting away in all directions. Only Kyungmin remained on the bridge, guiding her dying ship toward the enemy. The dreadnought fired one more time. The blast tore through Soul's Defiance, but not before the ship crashed into the enemy vessel. "For Earth," Kyungmin whispered. She triggered the reactor overload. A miniature star bloomed in space. The explosion consumed both Soul's Defiance and the 2 Council dreadnoughts. The shockwave pushed back the approaching Council reinforcements. Behind that wall of fire, the human fleet escaped. Every boarding team made it out. Every prisoner was rescued, and Omega-7 exploded in a chain reaction of antimatter detonations, sending flames that could be seen across 3 star systems. The humans had won their first battle, but the price of victory was written in Admiral Kyungmin's sacrifice. The human fleet regrouped in a hidden sector of space, licking its wounds after the battle at Omega-7. Commander Taeyang stood alone in his quarters, staring at Admiral Kyungmin's service record on his screen. She had served for 30 years. She had a daughter waiting for her in Colony 3. Now she was gone. A soft chime at his door pulled him from his grief. Enter. Elder Yuna walked in slowly, leaning on her walking stick. At 137 years old, she was the oldest living human, kept alive by advanced medical technology. She had been born on Earth, one of the few who remembered the homeworld with her own eyes instead of through stories. You carry too much weight alone, Yuna said gently, sitting down without being invited. Kyungmin made her choice. Honor it, but don't let it crush you. How many more will die before this ends? Taeyang asked. As many as necessary, Yuna replied honestly. War is terrible, but slavery is worse. Living in fear every day is worse. The council gave us only two choices, hide forever or fight. We chose to fight. Before Taeyang could respond, an urgent message arrived. Dr. Hana's face appeared on the screen, excited and nervous at once. Commander, you need to see this. We received a message from coordinates in the Nexus Sigma region. It's not in any council language. It's not human either. What does it say? Taeyang asked. You are not alone, Hana translated. Rally point, Nexus Sigma. Other survivors await. Taeyang felt a chill run down his spine. Other survivors? From other species? That's what it suggests, Hana confirmed. If it's real, we might not be the only ones the council tried to erase. The decision was made quickly. A small delegation would travel to Nexus Sigma. If it was a trap, they would lose only a few ships. If it was real, they might find desperately needed allies. 3 days later, Commander Taeyang, Ambassador Subin, Captain Minho, and Elder Yuna arrived at Nexus Sigma. It was a hidden station built inside the hollow shell of a dead star. Ancient and massive, it had existed for thousands of years as a neutral meeting ground for those who didn't trust the council. Inside the station's central chamber, they found 6 other species waiting. Each one looked different from the others. Some were insectoid, others reptilian, some gaseous forms contained in special suits, but all of them shared one thing. They were survivors. A tall being with crystal-like skin spoke first. We are the Varani descendants. The council destroyed our homeworld 800 years ago. 3,000 of us survived. Another alien, covered in thick fur and with 6 eyes, stepped forward. I represent the Koltari. The council deemed us genetically inferior. They tried to sterilize our entire species. Only 5,000 of us escaped. One by one, each species told their story. The Meridian Collective, whose planet was strip-mined until it was uninhabitable. The shattered clans who refused to give up their tribal governments. The nomadic singers whose songs the council found disturbing. The silent watchers who saw too much and spoke too truthfully. Together, we represent 15 million survivors across 7 species. The Varani spokesman concluded. We propose an alliance. The alliance of the forgotten. Taeyang felt hope surge in his chest. 15 million against trillions. The odds are still impossible. But not hopeless, Subin said quietly. 1 species alone can be dismissed as an anomaly. 7 species together becomes a pattern, a movement. The negotiations began immediately. Some species wanted pure revenge against the council. Others wanted simply to survive and be left alone. A few dreamed of overthrowing the council entirely and creating a new galactic government. In the middle of a heated debate about strategy, alarms began blaring throughout the station. A fleet had arrived. A large one, council ships? Minho demanded, rushing to a tactical display. No, the station operator replied. Those are mercenary vessels. Warlord Banhua's fleet. Warlord Banhua strode into the chamber moments later, surrounded by armed guards. He was a human, but one who had taken a different path. Instead of joining the hidden colonies, he had become a mercenary, selling his services to whoever paid the most. His fleet numbered 200 ships, all stolen or salvaged over decades of piracy. I heard humans were starting a war, Banhua said with a sharp smile. I came to offer my services. For the right price, of course. Taeyang studied the man carefully. We don't have money. We barely have resources. Then offer me something else, Banhua replied. A share of whatever we capture from the council. Salvage rights, technology, I'm flexible. You're a mercenary, Minho said with disgust. You'll betray us the moment someone offers you a better deal. Banhua shrugged. Maybe, but right now fighting the council is profitable. They have lots of equipment to steal, and I hate them as much as you do. They killed my family too, just in a different war. Elder Yuna spoke up unexpectedly. The boy has a point about betrayal. But desperate times require difficult choices. We need ships, and he has ships. The debate continued for hours. Some species trusted Bonhua. Others wanted him thrown off the station. Finally, Taiyang made a decision. Bonhua, you can join us, but you follow orders like everyone else. Your payment comes from captured council resources. If you betray this alliance, the combined fleets of 7 species will hunt you to the edge of the galaxy. Do you understand? Bonhua grinned. Perfectly clear. I look forward to getting rich with you. Over the next week, the alliance organized itself. Specialist Kiwu, a human communications expert, established secure networks linking resistance cells across 50 council worlds. Ambassador Subin traveled to sympathetic planets, quietly recruiting dissidents and gathering intelligence. Dr. Suyong worked with alien engineers to share technology. The Varani shields, combined with Kolthari power systems and human quantum drives, created hybrid ships more powerful than anything the galaxy had seen. Meanwhile, the Council tightened its grip across the galaxy. Councillor Vexrath convinced other council members that the human survivors represented an existential threat. Martial law was declared in the outer territories. Compliance fleets patrolled the spaceways, enforcing order through fear and violence. Public executions of suspected resistance members were broadcast across council space as warnings. Several worlds that protested too loudly were threatened with Earth's fate. But something unexpected happened. The brutality backfired. More species began to question the Council's authority. If they could destroy Earth, if they could experiment on prisoners, if they could threaten entire planets for disagreement, were they really the peacekeepers they claimed to be? Resistance cells multiplied. Small acts of sabotage became common. Information networks spread faster than the Council could shut them down. In the Council chambers on the capital world, Councillor Vexrath's young aide, Taryn, watched her master with growing horror. She had believed in the Council's mission to maintain peace and order. But now she saw the truth. The Council maintained power, not peace. They enforced obedience, not justice. Late one night, Taryn copied classified files from Vexrath's personal computer. Fleet positions, defense network schematics, lists of dissidents. Everything the Alliance would need. She contacted a smuggler she knew, passed the information along and waited. Days later, the information reached the Alliance at Nexus Sigma. Taiyang and his commanders stared at the intelligence treasure trove in amazement. This is everything, Minho breathed. Complete schematics of Council defenses. Fleet movements for the next 3 months. With this, we can plan a real campaign. But something in the files caught Dr. Hana's attention. Look at this. The Council's entire empire is controlled from a single location. The Grand Nexus, a megastructure at the galactic core. If that facility falls, their command structure collapses. That's their most heavily defended location, Subin pointed out. Thousands of ships guard it. Planetary shields. Automated defense platforms. It's a fortress. Elder Yuna tapped her walking stick on the floor thoughtfully. Every fortress has a weakness. We just need to find it. Before we can assault the Grand Nexus, we need a victory that brings more species to our cause, Taiyang decided. Something big enough to prove the Council can be beaten. Minho pulled up a star map. Bastion 12. It's a fortress world that controls an entire sector. 30 systems answer to the garrison there. If we liberate Bastion 12, dozens of worlds might join the Alliance. It could also be a trap, Captain Hyun warned. Vexrath must know we have intelligence capabilities. He could be using Bastion 12 as bait. Taiyang studied the map for a long moment. His grandmother's words echoed in his mind one more time. Be smart, be careful, but be brave. Then we'll walk into his trap, Taiyang said finally. But we'll be ready for it. We'll turn his trap into ours. The Alliance began preparing for the largest battle since Earth's destruction. Ships were repaired and upgraded. Soldiers trained together, learning to fight alongside alien allies. Plans were made and remade, accounting for every possibility. And in the shadows, Warlord Bonhua quietly prepared his own plans, known only to himself. Jiwan sat in the pilot seat of the Shadow of Soul, watching the dead system grow larger on her screens. The ship was small and fast, perfect for reconnaissance missions. Lieutenant Hyun sat beside her, his hands dancing across the navigation controls. That's weird, Hyun muttered, studying the scanner readings. The system shows no life signs, but there's definitely a structure on the 4th planet. Something big. The mysterious signal had led them here to this forgotten corner of space. The system's star burned dim and red like a dying ember. Dead planets circled it in silence. No ships, no stations. Nothing that suggested anyone had been here in centuries. "Take us in slowly," G1 ordered. "Keep weapons ready." As they descended toward the fourth planet, the structure became visible. It was a research station, ancient and damaged, floating in orbit above the gray world. Parts of it had broken off and drifted away, but some sections still had power. Lights flickered in a few windows. They docked carefully with an airlock that still functioned. Jiwon and Hyun wore their environment suits and carried weapons. The airlock opened with a hiss of stale air. Inside the station was a tomb. Dust covered everything. The gravity still worked, but barely. They floated more than walked through the corridors. Emergency lights cast red shadows on the walls. "Over here," Hyun called out. He had found a data terminal that still had power. Jiwon connected her portable computer to the terminal. Files began downloading. Ancient files. Records from 800 years ago. The language was not human, but her computer translated it quickly. "These are research logs," she said, reading quickly. "This station belonged to a species called the Varani. They were studying Council weapons technology." "Why would they do that?" Hyun asked. Jiwon kept reading and her face went pale. "Because the Council was about to destroy their homeworld. They knew they were going to die. They wanted to leave a warning for anyone who came after." The Varani records told a familiar story. They had refused to give the Council complete control over their military. They had wanted to keep their independence. The Council decided they were too dangerous. The same planet-killer weapons that destroyed Earth had been used on the Varani homeworld. An entire civilization erased in hours. "They left blueprints," Ji-won said with excitement. "Advanced shielding technology. Something that might protect against Council weapons. We need to take this back to Commander Taeyang." While Ji-won investigated the dead station, Ambassador Subin walked through a crowded market on trade station Kepler 9. She wore a disguise, appearing to be a trader from a minor species. Her mission was simple but dangerous: gather intelligence on Council fleet movements and find potential allies. Subin was good at languages. She spoke 47 of them fluently. She moved through the crowds, listening to conversations, watching the news displays, learning everything she could. The Council controlled most of the galaxy, but not everyone was happy about it. Some species whispered complaints in dark corners. She made contact with a merchant named Belric, a bulky alien with gray skin and too many arms. He sold ship parts, but he also sold information. "The Council is mobilizing fleets," Belric whispered to her in a quiet corner of his shop. "Something has them nervous. They're sending hunter groups to the outer territories." "Why?" Sabin asked, pretending to examine a piece of equipment. "Rumors," Belric said quietly. "Some say they detected unusual technology signatures. Others say they found evidence of human survivors." Subin kept her face calm, but her heart raced. "I thought humans were extinct." "That's what the Council wants everyone to believe," Belric replied. "But I've heard stories. Ships that appear and disappear instantly. Weapons that tear apart metal like paper. Some say humans survived and are planning revenge." Before Subin could ask more questions, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Council security forces poured into the market area. They were checking identification, scanning everyone. "They're looking for someone," Belric hissed. "You should leave now." Subin tried to blend into the crowd, but a Council security officer spotted her. His scanner beeped loudly when pointed at her. Her disguise technology had failed. "You, stop," the officer shouted. Subin ran. She dodged through the panicking crowd, using her knowledge of station layouts to navigate the corridors. Behind her, security forces gave chase. She turned corners, jumped down maintenance shafts, and climbed through service ducts. But there were too many of them. They cornered her in a loading bay. 6 armed guards, weapons pointed at her head. She raised her hands slowly. "Human," one guard said with shock. "An actual human." They dragged her to a detention center and threw her in a cell. Hours later, an old reptilian alien entered. His scales were dull with age and he walked with a cane. But his eyes were sharp and intelligent. "My name is Counselor Vexrath," he said slowly. "I led the vote to destroy your planet 3,000 years ago." Subin stared at him with pure hate. "You should not exist," Vexrath continued. "We confirmed Earth's complete destruction. Every human should have died." He leaned closer to the cell's force field. "How many of you survived? Where are you hiding?" "You'll find out soon enough," Subin said coldly. Vexrath studied her carefully. "The Council will find your colonies. We found you once. We'll find you again." And this time we'll make sure every last human is erased from existence. Back on the Remembrance, Engineer Deho presented the fleet's new weapons to the command staff. The gruff old man had spent decades developing these systems. The quantum displacement drive lets us jump short distances instantly, he explained, showing holographic models. No other species has this technology. We can appear behind enemy ships before they react. He activated another display. These nanite missiles don't explode. They release billions of tiny machines that disassemble enemy ships at the molecular level. There's no defense against it because they're too small to shoot. Captain Minho watched with approval. What about their telepathic communication networks? We have psionic dampeners, Deho replied. Most council species communicate mentally over long distances. Our dampeners block those signals. Their command structure will fall apart in battle. Dr. Hana listened to all this with growing discomfort. We're developing weapons of mass destruction. Are we becoming what we hate? We're surviving, Deho said sharply. There's a difference between defense and genocide. Commander Taiyang received Jiwan's report about the Varani research station. The blueprints for advanced shields could protect human colonies from council attacks. It was valuable information. But then an emergency message arrived from Kepler 9. Ambassador Subin has been captured, the intelligence officer reported. Council forces have her. They know humans still exist. The command center fell silent. Every officer looked at Taiyang, waiting for orders. If we rescue her, we reveal our capabilities too early, Minho said carefully. The council will study our technology and develop counters. If we abandon her, we lose one of our best diplomats, Dr. Hana argued. And we lose our humanity. Taeyang thought about his grandmother's message again. Be smart, be careful, but be brave. We rescue her, he decided. Prepare a strike team. Captain Minho, you'll lead it. Use the quantum drives. Get in, get her out, and disappear before they know what happened. Minho nodded. And after the rescue? After that, we accelerate our timeline, Taeyang said firmly. The council knows we survived. They'll mobilize their full military might to hunt us down. We need to strike first, strike hard, and strike now. Across council space, alarms began sounding on military installations. Emergency meetings were called. Fleets were mobilized. The news spread quickly through official channels and unofficial whispers alike. Humans survived. Humans were armed. Humans were coming. Councillor Vexrath stood in his office looking out at the glittering capital city of the council homeworld. For 3,000 years he had lived with the decision to destroy Earth. He had convinced himself it was necessary. Humans were too violent, too unpredictable, too dangerous. Now they were back, and they wanted revenge. For the first time in millennia, Vexrath felt afraid. Commander Taiyang stood alone in the observation deck of the Remembrance, staring at the holographic image floating before him. Earth. Beautiful, blue, and green. Home. A home he had never seen except in old recordings and pictures. A home that existed only in memory now. The ship hummed quietly around him in the darkness of space. Outside the windows, a purple nebula stretched across the stars like a curtain, hiding them from the patrols that hunted for humans in the galaxy. 3,000 years had passed since Earth died. 3,000 years since the Galactic Council decided humanity was too dangerous to exist. Taeyang touched the hologram, and it changed. Now it showed Earth's final moments. Massive ships surrounded the planet. A beam of terrible light struck the surface. Continents cracked apart like broken pottery. Oceans boiled away into steam. Mountains melted into rivers of fire. In less than an hour, 5 billion people died. An entire world turned to dust and floating rocks. Only 50,000 humans escaped on colony ships that day. They ran into the darkness between stars, hiding, surviving, growing their numbers in secret. Now there were more than 2 million humans scattered across 7 hidden colonies, and Taeyang commanded their combined fleet. The door opened behind him. Dr. Hana walked in carrying a data tablet. Her face showed excitement mixed with fear. "Commander, I found it," she said breathlessly. "I finally decoded the council transmission. 5 years of work and I found it." Taeyang turned away from the hologram of dead Earth. "What did you find?" Hana activated her tablet and new holograms appeared. Star maps, coordinates, technical drawings of weapons. "These are the coordinates of a council weapons facility on the outer rim," she explained. "This is where they build their planet-killer weapons. The same weapons they used on Earth." Taeyang felt his heart beat faster. "Are you certain?" "Yes, but there's more. Something worse. Hana's hands shook slightly. The Council is planning a new hunt. They want to find all remaining human colonies and destroy them. They fear we might have survived somewhere. The commander closed his eyes for a moment. His grandmother's voice echoed in his memory. She had sent him a final message before Earth died. He was just a baby then, safe on a colony ship. Her message was simple. Remember us. Remember what they did. One day make them answer for it. Call a meeting, Taeyang said quietly. All colony leaders. Every ship captain. It's time to decide our future. 2 hours later, the command center filled with holographic projections of colony leaders from across the hidden settlements. Some appeared as floating blue images. Others joined by video link. The room buzzed with nervous conversation. Captain Minho stood beside Taeyang. The tactical officer was young but brilliant, with eyes that seemed to calculate every possibility. We should strike, Minho said firmly. We have the advantage of surprise. Strike? One colony leader protested. We should keep hiding. We've survived this long by staying invisible. Another leader, an elderly woman from Colony 4, shook her head. Hiding won't save us if they're actively hunting. They'll find us eventually. Taeyang raised his hand for silence. The room quieted. Dr. Hana, show them what you found. Hana projected the decoded files for everyone to see. The images of the weapons facility. The plans for hunting human survivors. Gasps and angry mutters filled the room. For 3,000 years we've lived in fear, Taeyang began. We've hidden in the dark corners of space. We've told our children stories of a world they'll never see. We've carried the pain of genocide across generations. He paused, letting his words sink in. But in those 3,000 years we haven't been idle. We've developed technology the Council doesn't know about. We've built ships they've never seen. We've turned our pain into purpose. Minho stepped forward and activated another hologram. It showed human ships with strange glowing engines, weapons that looked nothing like Council designs. Our quantum displacement drives can jump our ships instantly across short distances. No other species has this. Our nanite missiles can tear apart enemy ships at the molecular level. Our adaptive camouflage makes us invisible to their scanners. We've been preparing for this without even knowing it, Taeyang continued. Every year we survived made us stronger. Every generation added to our knowledge. We're not the desperate refugees who fled Earth anymore. We're something new, something they should fear. An older colony leader, a man named Daishik, spoke up. Even with all that, we number 2 million against trillions. How can we possibly win? We don't need to conquer the galaxy, Minho replied. We need to destroy their ability to commit genocide. We need to show them that erasing entire species has consequences. We need to make them pay for what they did. The vote took an hour. Arguments flew back and forth. Some wanted peace, some wanted revenge, others simply wanted justice. In the end, the decision was clear. Humanity would stop hiding. Humanity would strike back. As the meeting ended and the holograms faded, Jiwan entered the command center. The young intelligence operative had been quiet during the discussion, but now she approached Taeyang with urgent news. Commander, while everyone was voting, I detected something strange, she reported. There's a signal coming from a dead system about 40 light-years from here. The system was marked as uninhabitable centuries ago. What kind of signal? Taeyang asked. I don't know. It's not Council standard. It's not human either. But it's definitely artificial. Someone is trying to communicate. Minho frowned. It could be a trap. Council forces trying to lure us out. Or it could be an opportunity, Jiwan countered. We need allies if we're going to war. What if there are others like us? Other species the Council tried to destroy? Taeyang considered this. His grandmother's message played in his mind again. But he thought of something else she had told him in that recording. Never let hate make you stupid, she had said. Be smart. Be careful, but be brave. Jiwan, take the Shadow of Soul and investigate, he ordered, but carefully. If it's a trap, jump away immediately. We can't afford to lose you. She nodded and left quickly to prepare her ship. Taeyang turned back to the window, looking out at the nebula. Beyond it lay Council space. Hundreds of worlds, thousands of ships, an empire that had stood unchallenged for millennia. They thought they had erased humanity. They thought they were safe. Begin preparing the fleet, he told Minho. Contact all 7 colonies. Tell them to ready their ships. We move in 1 week. Where are we going first? Minho asked. Taeyang smiled grimly. We're going to that weapons facility Dr. Hana found. We're going to destroy it, and we're going to let the Council know that humanity survived. Let them feel fear for once. As the Remembrance began to power up its massive engines, Taeyang watched the other human ships emerge from the nebula's purple clouds. One by one they appeared. Colony ships turned into warships. Cargo vessels loaded with weapons. Fighter craft by the dozens. The human fleet hidden for 3,000 years finally revealed itself. The engines blazed with blue fire. The ships turned toward Council space. And across every vessel the crew whispered the same words to each other. Words that had been passed down through 100 generations. Remember Earth, remember what they took from us. The hunt was over. The war was beginning. And the Galactic Council was about to learn that humanity never forgot. And humanity never forgave. The Alliance fleet emerged from quantum displacement near Bastion 12, and immediately, they knew it was a trap. Council warships waited in formation, hundreds of them, their weapons already charged and targeting systems locked. They knew we were coming. Captain Minho reported from his tactical station. Council forces are in perfect defensive positions. Commander Taeyang smiled grimly. Good. That means they fell for our trap too. Ji-won, are you in position? Far below the planet's surface, hidden in an ancient smuggling tunnel that the Council had forgotten about, Ji-won and her covert team moved through darkness. They had infiltrated Bastion 12 3 days earlier, entering through underground caves that didn't show up on modern sensors. We're approaching the shield generator, Ji-won whispered into her communicator. Give us 10 minutes. In space above, the battle began. Council ships fired first and the sky lit up with weapons fire. Alliance vessels dodged and weaved, using their quantum drives to jump short distances unpredictably. Council gunners couldn't track targets that appeared and disappeared randomly. Deploy the nanite missiles. Admiral Taman ordered from his flagship. Thousands of nanite capsules launched toward the Council fleet. They looked harmless, like small metallic seeds drifting through space. But when they struck enemy ships, they released their deadly payload. Microscopic machines swarmed over hulls, dismantling molecular bonds. Council ships began falling apart like sandcastles in water. Then Warlord Bonhwa's mercenary fleet arrived, emerging from hyperspace behind the Alliance formation. Every Alliance ship detected the new arrivals and prepared for betrayal. Bonhwa, what are you doing? Taeyang demanded over the communication channel. Getting rich, Bonhwa replied coldly. The Council offered me more than you could. Enough money to buy my own planet. Sorry, Commander. Business is business. Bonhwa's ships opened fire on the Alliance vessels. Caught between Council forces ahead and mercenaries behind, the Alliance fleet took heavy damage. Several ships exploded. Others lost power and drifted helplessly. On Minho's ship, alarms screamed as weapons impacts shook the hull. We're trapped, his tactical officer reported. We can't fight both fleets at once. Minho watched the battle display with cold calculation. Bonhwa's positioning is wrong. His ships are too close together and they're blocking the Council's line of fire. Then suddenly everything changed. Bonhwa's fleet turned their weapons on the Council ships instead. The betrayer had betrayed the betrayers. Surprise! Bonhwa's voice came over all frequencies, laughing. Did you really think I'd work for the Council? They destroyed my home too. I've been feeding them false intelligence for weeks, getting them to position exactly where I wanted them. His mercenary ships, perfectly positioned inside the Council formation, fired at point-blank range. Council vessels unable to defend against such close attacks exploded by the dozens. You magnificent bastard, Taeyang muttered with grudging respect. The battle turned in the Alliance's favor. With Bonhwa's surprise attack and the continued effectiveness of human technology, Council forces began to retreat. But the planetary shields still protected Bastion 12 itself. As long as those shields stood, they couldn't truly liberate the planet. Deep underground, Ji-won's team reached the shield generator facility. It was guarded, but not heavily. The Council had assumed their shields were impenetrable from outside. Place the charges, Ji-won ordered. We have 2 minutes before patrols come back. Young Sergeant Jinwoo, no longer the nervous private from earlier battles, worked quickly and efficiently. He had become a skilled soldier through experience and survival. The charges were set. The team retreated into the tunnels. Ji-won pressed the detonator. Above ground, the planetary shields flickered and died. Bastion 12 lay exposed. Shields are down. Specialist Kiwoo reported from the communications station. Broadcasting Dr. Hana's evidence package now. Across every screen and communication device on Bastion 12, The truth about the Council played. Images of the experimental facilities at Omega-7. Records of species genocides. Lists of worlds threatened and destroyed. Testimony from survivors. 3,000 years of crimes, finally exposed. The civilian population of Bastion 12 watched in horror. Many had believed the Council's propaganda about maintaining peace and order. Now they saw the reality. The Council wasn't protecting the galaxy. The Council was enslaving it. Riots broke out across the planet's major cities. Citizens turned on the Council garrison forces. Soldiers, faced with their own people, began to refuse orders. Some even joined the uprising. Ambassador Subin landed on the planet with a diplomatic team, broadcasting a message to all. You are free now. The Council lied to you. Join us and together we can build something better. A galaxy where no species lives in fear of extinction. Within hours, Bastion 12 declared independence and joined the Alliance. The Council garrison surrendered, and those who wished to leave were allowed to go. The victory was complete. But Councillor Vexrath escaped before he could be captured, fleeing toward the Grand Nexus in a fast courier ship. He sent emergency messages to every Council world. The rebellion was real. The Alliance was winning, and the Council's empire was crumbling. The fall of Bastion 12 triggered exactly what Taeyang had hoped for, a cascade effect. 30 systems that answered to the Fortress world now questioned their loyalty to the Council. Within a week, 15 of them declared independence. Within a month, 40 more systems joined the Alliance. The Council's response was brutal. They sent compliance fleets to put down rebellions with overwhelming force, but every act of violence pushed more species toward the Alliance. The Council was tightening its grip and finding that its subjects were slipping through its fingers. 6 months after Bastion 12's liberation, the Alliance gathered at Nexus Sigma for a critical meeting. Representatives from 200 species filled the station's chambers. Some were full members. Others were observers considering whether to join. Elder Yuna addressed the assembly, speaking slowly but with strength that belied her age. 3,000 years ago, the Council destroyed my world. I was 5 years old, fleeing in a colony ship while my planet burned behind me. For 3,000 years, I carried that pain. I lived in hiding. I raised children and grandchildren in the darkness between stars. She paused, looking around the chamber at the gathered species. But today I see hope, not just for humans, but for all of us. The Council taught us that might makes right. That power justifies any crime. Today we prove them wrong. Today we show the galaxy that justice, unity, and courage are stronger than fear. The chamber erupted in cheers and sounds of approval from dozens of different species. Commander Taeyang stepped forward. The time has come. We have the numbers. We have the technology. We have the will. The Council sits in the Grand Nexus, believing themselves untouchable. We will prove them wrong. How do we assault the most defended structure in the galaxy? Someone asked. Dr. Su-Young activated a hologram showing the Grand Nexus. It was massive, an artificial construct the size of a small moon, positioned at the very center of the galaxy. Thousands of defensive platforms surrounded it. The Council's entire fleet could respond within hours. We can't overpower their defenses, Su-Young explained, but we can collapse them. I've modified the technology the Council used to destroy Earth. Instead of destroying planets, this device collapses energy shields. But someone has to deliver it directly to the Grand Nexus's core. Everyone in the chamber understood immediately. It was a suicide mission. I'll do it, Taeyang said without hesitation. No, Elder Yuna said firmly. She stood up, setting aside her walking stick. I will do it. I was born on Earth. I should be the one to finish this. Elder Yuna, you don't have to, Taeyang began. Yes, I do, Yuna interrupted. You're needed to lead what comes after. To build the new galaxy. I'm old. I've lived long enough to see this through. Let me end where I began. The debate was fierce, but in the end, Yuna's will prevailed. She would pilot the Remembrance, humanity's oldest and most symbolic ship, on the final mission. Taeyang and hundreds of crew members volunteered to join her. They would not let her go alone. The Alliance assembled the largest fleet in galactic history. 10,000 ships from 50 species. Humans, Varani, Kolthari, and dozens of others. Former enemies now stood together. They jumped to the galactic core as one. The Grand Nexus's defenders fought with desperate fury. Space filled with so much weapons fire that sensors couldn't track it all. Ships exploded by the hundreds on both sides. The Remembrance pushed through the chaos, protected by an entire fleet sacrificing themselves to clear a path. Jiwon led boarding teams onto Council defense platforms, disabling them from within. Minho coordinated fleet movements with brilliant precision. Bunhwa's mercenaries fought with unexpected heroism, proving that even the morally ambiguous could choose righteousness when it mattered. Young Jinwoo fought on the outer ring of the Grand Nexus itself, holding a critical position against overwhelming odds. He thought of his family in the colonies. He thought of Admiral Kyungmin's sacrifice. He thought of every human who had lived and died in 3,000 years of exile. For Earth, he screamed, firing his weapon until it overheated. The Remembrance breached the final defensive layer.